everyone, and welcome to my channel, The Curious Artist. Yes, my name is Inez. I am your curious artist. And today I am very happy, not just because I am here, but because today is the last video in the Sky series. I was supposed to post this video last week. I had a mishap with making the video. I was going to record this video actually on my camping trip and try to maybe do some plein air and maybe record some stuff to share with you guys. And had a little problem. Somehow we managed, my significant other and I, we managed to live behind my art bag, which in my art bag, obviously I had my art supplies. I had a gimbal, a mic and camera, all that good stuff, even the tripod, all that was needed for it. But I'm not going to say that I regret it. I am kind of bummed that that happened because I really wanted to dedicate some time to doing it. But I don't really regret it because I truly enjoyed myself while we were camping. I enjoyed the sights, and we were planning, first of all, to go to a different campsite and land between the lakes. We were hoping for 127, A or B, or 319. We hit a few of those spots, but they were taken by other campers. Apparently, fall is the most popular time to camp. And I don't blame them because it is beautiful when the leaves change. So, believe it or not, we ended up at the same spot we camped at last year, which we did not regret, which is campsite Forest Road 208, from which I did my very first video. No, maybe not the very first video, but I can't remember now. And I got to see absolutely everything that I saw last year, maybe a little bit more foliage and some changes in the leaves. It was warm enough in the middle of October for us to get back in the water with our feet while we were fishing. My significant other caught a beautiful fish he fixed on an open fire. And he really enjoyed it. He had been eating on it for a couple of days. So today is the last video of the Sky series, and I want to just recap a bit before we get into it. We started out series number 1 with fluffy clouds. Hey, I said it right. Fluffy clouds with the dabbing method with a tissue. We put pigment down and just dab the paint out, and you see what happened here. Obviously, this one's a lot nicer than this one, but I don't hate it. This one turned out to be pretty cool. We're not worried about the foreground because it's not about the foreground, it's about the sky. That's video number 1. This one's part of it as well. I was trying to do wispy clouds. I don't think they turned out the way I wanted them to. Somehow I got this. Oh, okay, there we go. The glare of the light. There's the second one, the wispy clouds. As you can see, they turned out cool too. It took me a minute to like them. Being your own critic sometimes is hard because you think that things don't look like they should, but they actually, once you step away from them, that happens. So we got number 1 was fluffy clouds with the dabbing method, and wispy clouds with just sweeping the paint in and leaving negative places. This I was trying to do again, the wispy clouds somehow, but this just, here we go. That one I didn't really care for, but as I said throughout the whole series, we're gonna show all of our mistakes. All my mistakes anyhow. I like this one. It turned out pretty cool, I think. It shows some of the changes in the clouds because they're not perfectly white. They have gray, they got blue, sometimes they got even purple in them. Then we have this type of sky in part 3 of the Sky series. Part 3 was the fusion of color. And the best way I showed it was in these kinds of changes in the sky happen at sundown mostly. Or maybe that's just when I've noticed it. Um, and this one turned out to be a pretty cool water, like a beach or ocean scene. These little white spots, I don't know how they got there, but it has to be some kind of an oil spot because it didn't take the water, but it makes it look like a hazy sun going down. So that's what happened here. But the way we do these, we add color to a wet page, different hues, different colors in an angle so they fuse as they go down. And this is, like I said, part 3. This is also part 3. This one we used blue. I believe I used orange or red, brown, yellow. And for the sun, I had a bit of frisket paper right here and pushed out the color towards the edges while the paper was damp, so we could get some of a glow effect around the sun. I know this looks like a really bright yellow, but it's actually just white in the center. And we added a foreground. Like I said, this is part 3 of skies. It's all about the fusing of the color in an angle to make this effect happen without any hard edges. Please go back and look at the video. It was awesome to do. I'm going to set these aside for a second here. And now we're going to get into the just these here were done in this paper and my fluid watercolor paper, just 140-pound paper, acid free, just a long piece of paper. Put these here, keep them safe, and put that over here for now. Now we are going to look at the number 4 video in the sky series, which is the stormy clouds. Let's go back here. That's not part of it. Here we are. I showed you my practice runs. There we go. Practice runs with lots of notes and which I learn from. It makes me make changes and fix it, the way I need it. And these are the more perfected runs on it. I mentioned before here, I experimented with adding white on top of black. And this is the white watercolor, not gouache, white watercolor. And on top of it, I added green to give it a bit of an opaque look. And I really liked it. But in the stormy clouds, what we do is we wet the paper. We get it really wet. And we add color. In this one, I add Naples yellow or Naples rose in it with a little bit of it running into the water. And then I got Payne's gray on here, or black. Can't remember. I think it's Payne's gray. And then we sprayed it with our trusty water bottle to soften it and let it run. And we make sure we keep it somewhat on an angle to let the paint run down, keeping it from going past the line that we wanted, that we defined. And I'm going to be honest, I was really afraid to do this technique with the spray bottle. But I'm not so much anymore because I actually done it and tried it. I discovered the usage of the spray bottle earlier in the series. I wasn't planning to do it, but it worked. It worked out perfectly fine. And this is just this is my watercolor journal. This is where I practice all things before I do them on a piece of paper that I'm planning to present as a composition. Now, throughout the series, I have been saying that it's more so about the skies and not about the foreground and the full composition. But what I have noticed is that as I get more comfortable doing these, I add the rest of the composition in it. Whether it turns out great or not, I add something to it, and it turns out to be something I like. So this is the end product of the practice. This is what we did on the video. And we call this "A Storm is Coming" simply because. And this is what it looks like, what it turned out to be. We did the technique where we wet the paper. We wet the paper and we put splashes of Payne's Gray. I'm not sure if that's yellow ochre or Naples rose. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember. I think it's Naples rose maybe. And some dry brush effect over here. I overworked it. It happens. And just some rock effect over here. All these little birds that you see in here actually product of a mistake. I was loading my brush and I spattered a little bit on the paper and I just turned them into birds. Each little dot is a bird. And I'm very satisfied with this. I was so happy with it that I had to put it in a little matting frame. I'm really happy with it. And for the bonus videos, this is what we did. Oh, I'm missing one. Okay, here it is. We're missing one. The bonus video, which is based on the inspiration picture that inspired the whole series, really is the skies, where they're different colors, the vibrant, beautiful purples and blues. I'm going to put this over here. It looks better for some reason. Purples, blues, purples, I think it's purple, violet, Naples rose. It has a little bit of coral in there, is mixed in, and we use the dabbing method to create the clouds in it. And of course, what you see down here is where the sun is going down. This one, I didn't show a video of making it because, as I mentioned in the videos for the bonus video, I thought I was recording when I did this. By the time I realized I was not recording, I had already put in the trees. Or I was in the process of putting in the trees on the sides. And I mentioned also that I wasn't feeling all that great, so my head wasn't right. And I said, you know what, I'll just post it regardless. But as my significant other mentioned to me and told me, you guys deserve better. And I need to show quality of work. So I still show you what I've done. But you were supposed to watch the video to learn how to do the sky, and that's the real purpose of it. So I decided to do a second video. I deleted the other one. And I love this. I decided to call this the Candy Sky. It reminds me of cotton candy. And this is the product of the second video. Completely different, same type of sky. I used exactly the same colors. I used purple, violet, Naples rose, and coral. I don't know why the coral really doesn't show, but I promise you it's in there. You saw me use it. It blends really well into the Naples rose. That's why it does that. The trees, everything that you see in here, you got to see in the video how I did it. But this is the same exact method that I did over here, just different composition, where we lay down the colors we wanted and we dabbed with a paper towel or a tissue to make the shapes of the clouds. And I'm going to be really honest, I am very happy with both compositions. Yes, I say it every time. I'm biased because they're mine, but I seem to amaze myself when I make these because I go in with no exact plan of how things are going to look, or I start out with a plan of what I want to make, what composition is going to be, and it turns out something completely different. But I end up happy with both of them. With everything. Even if I don't like it, I'm satisfied because I've learned from it, which is really great. And at the very end, I just used a few markers, which we're still in October. I guess that counts. I don't use the markers a lot. except for the very fine details that I can't get done with the paintbrush. And if you really want to see, I don't know, it's too much of a glare. Oh, there you go. The very fine lines that you can't see when it's away. It's in there. See it? And another effect that happened is the crackly paint in the tree. That happens with the dry brush effect. That's gouache. So today is the final video. And we are going to get started with that here in the next minute or so, after I put away all my toys and the things I'm not going to use out of the way so I don't ruin them. And I'll be right back. All right, you guys, I am back, and we are going to do the night sky. And it's not the only way you can do the night sky, but this is the way that I've actually learned to do it. So I can show you how I did it. I had to learn how to do the moon. And you don't always have to put the moon in there, but you have to have a source of light for the moon to appear. I mean, for things to appear in your painting. If not, you're just going to have a dark blob with white dots, which is the easiest and laziest way to do it, right? So for this composition, I used my stencil to make circles for the moon. And of course, they're perfect little circles because they came with the stencil. But one thing we don't pay attention to, we realize that the moon is not perfectly round. But that's just the way it is. So I made two just in case. I cut out 2 pieces of frisket paper. Let's put this away because we won't be needing it anymore. And like I mentioned, I practiced. It doesn't always work out, as you can see. I don't know. I think I made a crater in that one. I think the circle was just way too small. But I practiced in trying to how to do the moon. And for this, it's just really dark blue. I think I mixed all 3 blues, but it kind of looks almost like an extremely dark what's the name of that blue? Indigo. It almost looks like indigo blue, sorry. But it's not indigo, it's just I think I mixed some black and dark blue with it. The moon is really gray and some gouache and some spatter. So I made little white, gray mixture in the first one. This one is gray. I don't know what that says. I can't read my own handwriting. And then white and gray and gouache. I think gray, white, gray, and gouache. And that's what I did. And of course the spatter. I'm not trying to do the painting itself. I just practice making the moon. I like this moon better, to be honest. It looks a bit more realistic. So I'm going to practice a little bit more. Obviously, that's why I made all these little circles. Try to maybe make like quarter crescents or 3/4 crescents, or we'll see what I do with these circles. They're not going to go to waste. I got something over here. I think I was going to actually do the composition over here. So, like I mentioned before, I got to show you that I actually practice before I try to teach or show you how I've done it. Let's put this away as well so it can be safe. So I tend to do stuff. And for this composition or this video, we're going to use what I've been using all along, which is my New York Central Art Supply watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton, 9x12, 140 pound cold press acid free paper. I've already boarded it up. I've mentioned this before. As soon as I finish something that I make, I like to board up the next paper. It's not really recommended to do that because the longer you leave the tape on it, the more of a chance is going to rip your paper. I don't have the patience for when I want to start painting, I just start painting. And I guess I don't actually have to board up the paper if I didn't want, if I don't have the patience. Just use regular painter's tape or artist tape, whichever one. I got some very thin ones. I got this one. I got thicker tape as well as some, I guess they call it what's it called? Tacky. I can't remember what they call it, but I got little ribbons of tape as well that I used for this, but I don't need it now. Master's Touch. I've been using this for the entire series. I added some of my other paint in the last composition because I needed the colors that are not in here. These have proven themselves to be awesome paint. Creamy, easy to activate. Some of my micron markers. Water bottles, a dropper bottle to get going and things like that. I've been using a palette, but I think I'm going to be using this. I've gotten comfortable using the palette that this came with. Let's activate the watercolor. I don't know why I'm activating all of them because it's not going to be a warm picture at all. I'm going to be using mostly the blues, maybe the gray, the black maybe. I don't think I'll be adding much of any other colors, to be honest, because it's a night sky. So I'm gonna put this back here. Of course, the rinse well. I've got a different brushes over here. I don't know if I'm going to be using them or not. I've got, of course, the trusty Hocket brush to add water to our paper. Now, I'm not sure how much water I'm going to really be using because we need the sky to be really dark. A couple of fan brushes, a really small one. I have an idea to maybe add some pine trees or something in there. Both of them, and that's what I'll be using these for. I also have a script liner or a liner brush. It's a 000 from Master's Touch. And what I've been using throughout the whole series, which is the Simply Simmons number 10. And I did something to a brush because I purchased this brush. It wasn't expensive, so it doesn't hurt to do this. This is number 10, Art Secret. It's a dagger. It's called a dagger stripper for $9.50. I cut it because it is made with squirrel hair. I cut it because it was a really huge dagger brush, and I was not going to use it. I'm not comfortable using huge brushes, but this is going to be great. Once I cut it, it's not evenly cut and anything, but it almost looks like a filbert. Maybe I could shave it a little bit. I'll fix this brush later, but this is going to be really great to add color for a big piece. So that's what I'm going to use it for. And of course, I got all of my brushes sitting over here on my paintbrush holder. And gouache. White gouache has been a great friend. So I might use the markers and always your trusty rags. Okay, lots of water and everything. So everything's here on the side. The paints are activated. And let's get started. Let's see. For this, I think I am going to divide the page. Down here, yeah. Let's get my small T ruler. And I think I am going to so I was going to do it about right here. Let's do 11.5 centimeters. Yeah, 11.5 centimeters. There we go. 11.5 centimeters. And I am very comfortable using centimeters. Even though I live in the United States, I grew up in Mexico. I mentioned this before. I grew up in Mexico and we use centimeters. We use a metric system, so to me that's more comfortable to use. I need a different ruler now for this, and I don't see it. So I am going to use, oh, there it is. Haha, found it. Ta-da. I don't need anything very pronounced. I just need to be able to see the line. Yep. Here we go. And we need a light line straight across. Put that back where I found it. I might find it again. Okay. This one we're actually going to do this way. And as I always mention, because I am touching the paper, always wash your hands before using a watercolor, because if not, the paint won't stick to your paper if you touch it. Okay? And before you touch your brushes or anything like that, I'm going to move these markers out of the way. We have these here, which is going to be the moon. The placement of the moon, I think I want it to be not right in the center, or for some, I'm right-handed. I feel more comfortable being right on the right. I think the moon's going to be right there. And my idea is I'm going to have the moon right here, paint over the frisket paper, and trees maybe coming up on it, maybe a little bit lower. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put it right there. And I did too, just in case I messed it up, or if I wanted to put it down here. If I put it up a little bit higher, it won't show on the bottom. If I put it lower, then I have to do something like that. What do you guys think? I like that idea. Let's do it. So give me 2 seconds to add the frisket onto my paper. And we'll get to playing with the paint. Alright, so we're going to do the one on top first. This is one thing I like about this frisket paper. It's see-through. You can see things behind it, underneath it. Alright, so we're going to do the moon right where it lands, right here. There we go. Ta-da! And it's set. And I think we're going to put it down here. We got to have some kind of light down here because it's going to reflect off of that. And then I can just cut whatever we're going to cut, whatever excess we have, but we got to make sure that it's right underneath it. Perfect. I can't. There we go. Let's be smart when we work. I think that's going to be maybe a little bit less. Less, right there. There we go. Perfect. And I can cut the excess off of that with my trusty scissors. All right. Ta-da! And that doesn't have to be cut perfectly because it is on the tape. Okay, perfect. Alright, let's make sure that it is sealed around the edges. We want that to be so. Okay. Great. I am going to use the back of a marker to seal the edges. I don't really care to seal it in the center, because if it can't get through the edge, it doesn't matter. It's made out of some kind of vinyl. I believe that they're vinyl. And I think I got it sealed. All right. Got it. I guess I'll just make sure that's down. Let's throw away our paper and put away our scissors. All right. I've got to mention, I was talking about my art supplies. I am bummed, like I said, because I really wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my camping experience with you. And I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to. But what happened is that when we were trying to, the last minute, right before we leave, we're double checking everything. We're outside of the, outside very early in the morning because we want to get there in time before it's too hot, too much sun, whatever. We wanted to make sure we had everything, okay? And for some reason, my backpack, we took it out to rearrange things in the cabin of the truck. Not the back of, like the bed of the truck, but in the cabin. Somehow we put my backpack on top of the cover for the bed of the truck. And when we closed the doors and everything, we didn't notice that my backpack was there. And we took off and it rolled off the back of the truck. And, well, someone found it and turned it in. And whoever did that, I really would love to thank. Because in there, the materials individually didn't cost a lot of money. Even my gimbal and my mics and things like that, they didn't cost a lot of money. But I am very grateful that they turned it in. So if anybody out there knows who did it, just say thank you to them. Just a little dot here. All right, let's get started with this. I said I was going to use this. I cut the bristles. Not very, very great, but I cut the bristles. The paints have been soaking. Now it's time to mix the paint. And for this, actually, we're going to just do the entire page in the same color. And for that, I think I am going to get the paper wet. I'm not going to soak it, but I do want the paper to be wet because it's a lot of paint to use. And I am just going to dab a little bit of that water out. With my Simply Simmons, I think I am going to mix the blue that I want. Just this blue. This is Persian blue. Persian blue. Da, 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 da. And I don't know how to gauge how much paint I'm going to need for an entire page. Because, yes, we got to get the entire page wet, painted. And I'm making a thick paint. I want to keep going. I keep trying to go back into the water. But I don't need to do that. What I need is water here. Just make the paint thick. Maybe I just need to. Let's see here. I'm adding just water right now because I'm going to make this paint thicker. But I want to make sure that I have enough for it. And then I'm going to add some, I guess, some black to it. Because I need this to be kind of indigo blue. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to add some black to this. Let's see here. I'm not rinsing the brush. Black and blue, they're pretty dark colors, so let's see here. That's damp. I Don't want it to be totally damp. Let's see, I think that's pretty dark. Let's add a little bit more blue. I think to this I also add a little bit of that brilliant blue to make it kind of show a little bit better. All these colors mixed will make a beautiful, beautiful night sky. You'll see. And I'm really grabbing that brilliant blue to add here. You'll see. You see it showing up on there? It does show, but very light, very, very little. Okay, so I'm hoping this is enough. And if I have to, I'll make some more. I'm going to re-wet this paper again. Now, we're going to use this. Ugh. I guess I should have mixed the paints with it. Soaking it up here. Look at the richness of that color. And remember that this is going to dry a bit lighter. So, let's get in there again. Let's get a whole bunch of that paint again. And it has to be darker down here, by the way. So that's why I haven't really tilted the paper. So I would like for this paint to just be darker at the bottom. It's going to be lighter right up in here where the sun is. Not the sun, the moon, sorry. So let's just... There are some spots that are darker because of the valleys in here. But I think I mixed enough paint. Just enough paint for it to be what it needs to be. And right here in the center, in the middle, I'm going to add a little bit of darkness to it. A little bit of black to it. Look at that. That is beautiful. All right. And now I'm going to add some of this beautiful black color in here. There we go. Right where the line is supposed to be. Which I lost when I put that paint down. There we go. And we're just painting black and blues. Don't be scared of it. Because believe me, I get scared all the time when I paint. The reason why I want it to be darker down here, obviously, is because of the distance. Okay, so there. It's darker up here. Black down here because it's darker. You can't really see it, but there we go. I'm trying to show you. It's really hard to show you with the glare of the light. I really wish there was a better way. For now, I'm going to add a little bit more dark. You'll see here in a minute. I'll let you see it. Let me turn on this light here. That might not work. That really did not work. All right, we're going to turn it off. Remember, all of this is going to dry lighter, okay? So we can actually, if we wanted to, add even more of that black color down here. And it'll fuse. It's going to fuse. It's not going to have these hard, dark black lines, but it's going to fuse because the paper is really wet. Okay, remember that, remember that, remember that. I am thinking that down here there's water. That's why I put this piece of paper down here. But I also need it to be a little bit lighter. I need to remove some of that down there. There we go. Need it to be just a little bit lighter. That's all. Perfect. Or I am back, anyhow. Um, this is not 100% dry. It's more like a 98%. It's a bit buckled. Because of the amount of water that it had. I didn't soak it at the beginning, but I put wet paint on it, so it did have a lot of water on it. Now that this is almost dry, I am going to, because it's not damp. It feels dry to the touch, but I can tell it's still kind of wet. It's probably wet underneath the paper more so than the top. So now it's time to do the spatter. And in order to do the spatter, I don't want it to be completely covered all the way down to here in spatter. So I'm going to try to protect it a little bit. I couldn't find anything, or I guess I could have put a piece of paper around it. Let's do that. Let's do a piece of plain white paper. And we'll use this again. I'll say we use, that might still be too. Nope, we're not going to use that. We're going to use this. This is just a container with salt in it. And I am going to use it to cover the moon. I'm going to do it over here as well. And that's just to keep the spatter away, because remember that the more light, the less stars you see. And that's what the white spatter is. So let's get us a nice mixture of gouache. We're not going to use our brush. The toothbrush works way better. And I can never just pour out a tiny dot of gouache for some reason. I don't know if you can see, but there's a big old gob on there of gouache. But we do have to add some water to it, so let's do that. Tiny bit of water in here. We have to get it thinned out because we're gonna do spatter. We're not gonna do paint. And we want it to really, really, really stick to the toothbrush. And there we go. That should be good enough, I think. Alright, I'm gonna rinse out my brush so I can let it dry over here. Alright, we got our trusty toothbrush. We're gonna get some of that on here. And just like that, we're gonna, remember, the further away you do this, the further apart the stars will be. It's kind of like when you're putting salt on food. Look at that. We got spatter. And now that this is done, I'm going to add the glow on the moon. And that is very, very simple. I might need to get just a tad bit more of this. Ooh, there. I did better this time. Just a tiny bit of the, and I want some of that water. I want this to be a bit watered down as well. Some of the, I'm going to use my fingers for this, first of all, to go around the edge of the moon with the gouache. Okay, and yes, I start out in the inside of the circle. Okay, and this is, I'm using the watered down gouache. Okay, so that way I think I'm ready to remove the tape. All right, let's get that done. This one should be easier to do. There we go. Okay. I'll put that right over here. Perfect. Let's go over here. We'll just remove it. There's a moon. Okay. And in this moon now, we gotta add some color because we know that the moon is not bright white like that. We know it has some tiny things, and I guess that's why the kind of brush I didn't grab. So let me grab a small round brush. That's really all I need. And this is, I grabbed a number 1. This is from Lonely Finger. Completely out of line. Does that look better to you? Well, you guys can't see it because of the glow, because it's wet. I'm gonna probably, oh, that's too much. I'll probably take some of that out because we do not want that. I know it's gonna dry lighter. I know that. But I don't want it that dark. Period. Let's get some of that dark gray out. There we go. Perfect. And in this one at the bottom, which is, oh man, that's bad. I just meant to add water to it. There. I think I'll add some gouache to this here as well. It's gonna need it. Let's do some gouache the whole thing. Add some of that gray in there. And that's it. Now remove some of it. Doesn't have to be perfect or match the way it is. Just needs to have a hint of it. There we go. Let's see. We'll do that. Why not? There we go. There's that. Now we just have to worry about the rest. The sky is done. We have our moon. I don't think you can see the moon quite yet because of the glare of the water. Oh, there it is. You can see it now. I can't wait for it to dry completely so you can see the whole thing. So that's gonna dry. That's gonna dry. And while that dries, we're gonna start working on some foreground maybe. There we go. This brush to dry over here. And I'm gonna get fancy. You know what that means, right? When I get fancy, it means that I am going to be doing some stuff. Free style. That's what fancy means to me, okay? So don't don't think I'm doing any fancy art stuff, because I don't even know what that is, to be honest. Add some water on this side. I've reactivated the black. There you go. And I'm gonna get somewhere up in here. There we go. Yeah, let's see, maybe up here. Now I need to mark my halfway line, which I think the trick for this is going to be, I'm going to get my ruler wet with some of this paint, and that's just so I know where the line is. And it's not going to be a perfect line nor a full line. It's just going to mark where I want it to be. It's just going to be right here. There. That's my guide. I know. It's science. And all of this is going to be squiggly. And these are going to be my trees. Let me get one more. There we are. This one's going to go straight through there. The tallest one from top to bottom. All the way across. I like that. Which means now, I don't know why I put that in there. Means this one's gonna come all the way down here. This one's gonna come down this way as well. This one goes past it. This one's not so much as well as that one. Okay, this one comes all the way down here. And this one is also a very long one. Should come down here. I think this one's almost where it needs to be. Perfect. And that's how we're going to have our reflection. I don't need the liner anymore. Alright. And we're going to use, I'm going to start out with the miniature fan brush. I think this is 20-0. Yeesh. Alright, so let's get started. I'm trying to get it to fan out. It does fan out as well. It does fan out. So it'll get there. So I just want it to be fanned out so I can get started up here. Okay. This side. Okay. done the trees upside down. The bottom, I purposely made them look kind of squabbly because it is water. So now what I'm going to do, because there's not much left to do here, is a little bit along the horizon line here. Make it look like maybe there's something, like maybe some bushes or something. And do some white across the water, kind of like letting it show is water, some kind of reflection of light of some sort. And I'll just do that with some kind of a card or something straight and just move it across. I could do that with the ruler of some sort, which I probably will use, to be honest. There we go, we'll use that one. And that would be probably the end of this. Let's see, let me just get up in here. This has got to be extremely dark. Let's see, and for this I think I'm going to use some gouache. And is that still wet? That's still wet. Okay. And it's going to be very simple. I'm going to put some gouache on here, not all the way across, just in some spots. And let's see how this turns out, because this is the last piece, the last part of it. And I just want to go side to side. Hopefully I don't ruin this. Please don't let me ruin this. Well, it's not transferring because the paint's pretty dry. So let's see if I can manage to do this a different way. Okay, So let's add a little bit of water to the gouache that's in my palette already. Let's get it moving a little bit. See if we can soften it. Let's see if I can get the paint in here. That might be too thick. Can't use that, no. Alright, so let's get some more of this. I don't really want to use a brush. I would like to use a palette of some sort. But I'm going to use my brush. Bad idea. I really would love to put some highlights on top of that. Like maybe just some dry highlight like that. It'll look grayish because of it being on top of the paint. You guys really can't see it, but it's just gonna be a little bit of a right on the top from the moon. Okay, it's not a lot, and it's gonna be very opaque because of the gouache, and that's just from it being, you know, the moon being right above it. Put some of that in here somewhere, just like that, and that is finished. All right, so like I mentioned before, my comments are on. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you like my channel. Share. Leave a comment. I really would love to hear from you guys. This is the final composition, or the final video in the Sky series. This is number 6, and we did, I guess appropriately saying, at the end of the Sky series, we did the night sky, which is the end of the day. I'm very happy with this. Came out a lot nicer than I expected it to, and I'm very happy with it. Now, of course, my favorite part is going to be removing the tape. Very nice. Now you can actually see it without the glare from the water. Now, the last thing I need to do is sign it. I did not need to use any of the micron markers because it did not need it. So, this is too small to sign. Number is this. This is a nice one. I'm gonna sign right over here. Oh, can't. It won't work. What's going on with my markers? I need a piece of paper. Let's get a piece of scrap paper. There we go. Working now. I want to sign it. There we go. On the inside. And we're going to put today is. I'm going to finish that signature because I have to. Today is October the 18th. 2024. And I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about my camping stuff later. There we go. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to put that on there. We got that. And what are we going to call this? We're going to call this a full moon. Full moon. Number 6 video in the Sky series. Yay! Thank you guys once again for hanging out with me during the Sky series. It is actually a very beautiful picture. I might frame this one as well. I like it a lot. Or give it away as a gift to someone I care for. I'm very satisfied with it. Of course, like I always say, I'm biased. It's mine. I made it. I have to like it, of course. And I will see you guys for the next video. For the next video, I said I am going to do a little tribute to Madam Lady, or Lady Maggie Smith from the Harry Potter series and that British show I've never watched, at Downton Abbey. But I'm going to show you the book that got me started into watercolor, which is the Harry Potter book, and it'll be a small tribute to her. I'll show you my process of how I do those, because sometimes I do those and then I do the watercolor and then I do it in acrylic. Okay, so I'll see you guys next week, and thank you for hanging out with me, and have a beautiful one. Stay curious. Bye bye.